This video addresses another key element of economic analysis that will help us understand how an economy in a free society works. Understanding these 10 key elements will help you develop a solid foundation that will assist you in making more informed decisions as an individual, as well as provide a firm basis with which to discern, to judge public policy proposals. Mastering these elements of economic analysis is necessary to advocate for or preserve an economic system that benefits everyone, especially the poor. The key element that this video focuses on is key element 9. The invisible hand of market prices directs buyers and sellers toward activities that promote the general welfare. Before we begin, recall that prices are the result or the effect of money. A critical and significant economic and social benefit of money is that it allows for the development of market prices. The video on money explains some of the benefits of prices. This video will continue on the topic of prices by showing what they are, how they are determined, and the role or roles prices play in a free market economy, in a free society. First, it is good to recognize that in a free economy, in a free market economy, when individuals pursue their own goals, they, at the same time, promote the goals of others. They serve their fellow man. As demonstrated in the video on key element 7, the only way to earn an income in a free society is to provide goods or services that other people want. Thus, to successfully achieve one's own interest, one must first promote the goals of others and serve their fellow man. Additionally, pursuing one's own advantage also creates an orderly society in which demands are routinely satisfied without a central plan. So what directs people in a free market economy to promote the goals of others? And what allows for the creation of an orderly society? The invisible hand of market prices. When private property and freedom of exchange are present and protected, market prices coordinate the actions of self-interested individuals. Even though an individual intends only his own gain, he is directed by the invisible hand of market prices to promote the goals of others, which leads to greater prosperity. Now, how does the invisible hand of market prices do all of this? In order to understand the explanation to this question, one must know how prices are determined. Market prices are the result of the forces of demand and supply. The law of demand and the law of supply help us understand where prices come from. They help us understand how prices are determined. Anything that influences demand or anything that influences supply will have an impact on price. This is significant because price changes, influence the choices and actions of both buyers and sellers. As the law of demand shows us, all things equal, when prices increase, the amount people demand decreases. And when prices decrease, the amount people demand increases. Price and quantity demanded have an inverse or negative relationship. If someone were to say they would buy a 2-liter of soda for $2, but they would not buy a 2-liter of soda for $1, you would think that they were, for lack of a better term, rather stupid. For sellers, the rise in the price of a product brings extra profit. Because there is more profit, more reward, they have an incentive to supply more. Thus, price and supply have a direct or positive relationship. This is called the law of supply. If price goes up, quantity supplied goes up. If price goes down, quantity supplied goes down. When the law of demand and the law of supply are graphed, the demand curve goes down and to the right while the supply curve goes up and to the right. Because of the economic forces, the economic laws of demand and supply, prices tend to move toward a level that will bring the quantity demanded into equality with the quantity supplied. In the picture, you will see that at $3, the amount of tennis balls demanded is the same as the amount of tennis balls supplied. You will also notice that the demand and supply curve intersect at the price of $3. The price at which the curves intersect, the price that balances demand with supply, is called the equilibrium price. This shows us that price coordinates the choices of both consumers and producers of tennis balls and brings them into balance. In our example, if the price is higher than $3, higher than the equilibrium price, then more tennis balls will be produced than consumers demand, creating a surplus. This excess supply will lead some producers to cut their price to reduce excess inventories. This price decline will continue until the $3 equilibrium is reached. Thus, if a price is above the equilibrium, market forces will push prices down toward equilibrium. Correspondingly, if the price of tennis balls is less than $3, for example $2, consumers will want to purchase a larger quantity than producers are willing to supply. This generates excess demand and will place upward pressure on prices. It will tend to move back toward the equilibrium price of $3. Consumers will tend to purchase only units that they value more than the actual price. Producers will supply only units that can be produced at a cost less than the price. The implication? Market prices not only bring the quantity demanded and quantity supplied into balance, but they also direct producers to supply those goods that consumers value more highly than their cost of production. This shows us that prices bring the choices of buyers and sellers into balance and direct scarce resources into the production of those things consumers value most. Of course, we live in a dynamic world. Changes in factors like income, the price of substitute goods, consumer taste, and expected future price will alter the demand for goods. Similarly, changes in factors such as technology, resource prices, subsidies, and taxes will alter cost and the supply curve. Lower cost production methods will be discovered. New products will be introduced. However, if not restricted by price controls or other forms of political intervention, market prices will respond to dynamic changes and provide buyers and sellers with both the information and the incentive to bring their choices into harmony. These adjustments will not be instantaneous. It will take time for both consumers and producers to fully adjust to new conditions. Moreover, in a dynamic world, the adjustment process is continuous. Knowing all of this, we should be able to explain how market prices create an orderly society even when changes are constantly taking place that affect both the value and the cost of goods and services. In order to create and maintain an orderly society, in order for the desire of consumers and producers to remain in harmony, in order for shortages or surpluses to remain temporary, changes must be communicated to consumers and producers. Changes that are constantly taking place all over the world. Market prices do that. Market prices communicate those changes. Let's imagine a system without market prices. Let's imagine that there's just one storehouse, a huge storehouse where anytime someone produces something, they bring what they produce to this storehouse. And anytime you need to consume something, you go to the very same storehouse and you take what you need. Since it's not based on market prices, we'll have it based on the honor system. So those who come will only take what they need, and people will produce, they will make something, and they'll deposit it here at the storehouse. Now that system, you can probably imagine, will not work, will not be very effective. A couple of problems that you have for the producer side is, what if people say they produce but they don't? All right, it's based on the honor system, so they can just say that they produced and take what they need. Another problem with the producer side is, what if they produce something nobody wants? What if I decide I'm going to produce broccoli flavored Jell-O? So I produce broccoli flavored Jell-O, I got 10 boxes, I bring it to the storehouse, I deposit it there, and I shop around and I take what I need. I come back a week later, 10 more boxes of broccoli flavored Jell-O, and lo and behold, still there. Like, put my other 10 boxes down, consume what I need, take off. If I do this throughout the year, likely what you're going to see is that there's going to be a huge stack, piles of broccoli flavored Jell-O, because not many people, if anybody at all, is going to want to eat Jell-O with a broccoli flavor. So the problem there, of course, is people might produce something nobody wants. And on the consumer side, they're supposed to consume just what they need. But what if they consume more? It's very likely, given human nature, that consumers are going to treat the storehouse like a buffet line and take as much as they can and take way more than they need. So something has to exist. Something has to exist to limit what consumers take and at the same time tell producers what to produce. We don't want people taking more than they need, and we don't want producers producing stuff that nobody wants. And that thing that matches the two, that links the two, of course, is market prices. Market prices limit how much people consume, and prices also communicate to sellers, to producers, what people want. If I were producing broccoli-flavored Jell-O in a market economy with market prices, I would discover that nobody wants them. To get rid of my inventory, my surplus, I'd have to drop the prices tremendously to a point where it's not even worth making anymore. So prices, market prices, effectively communicate between consumers and producers. And I think that storehouse analogy, though not perfect, certainly works pretty well. Let's use another example to explain how, or to show how prices work. Let's say the citizens of Omaha, Nebraska initiate a giant Halloween festival that features bobbing or dunking for apples. Now the citizens of Omaha will want more apples than usual, so demand is going to be increasing. If demand increases, but supply remains the same, then the price is going to go up. But what if apple prices are not raised? Well, in that case, there will be a shortage. There won't be enough apples to go around. And so, in a free market, market prices will adjust to this change in demand, and as people in Omaha express their desire for more apples, prices will go up. Other consumers will reduce their consumption of apples. Why? Because they prefer to eat fewer apples than pay the higher price. Therefore, outsiders, people outside of Omaha, will eat fewer apples, enabling those in Omaha to consume the desired additional apples at the higher price, which they were willing to pay. Now, what effect will there be on the supply side of apples? Well, the higher prices will make it more profitable for producers to supply more apples. The law of supply, right? To supply more apples, they would likely take more care to avoid spoilage or damage to apples that are being stored and shipped. Perhaps they'll plant more orchards. Now, of course, a short-term event such as a festival would not cause that, but if we can imagine some scenario where the demand for apples grown in the United States increases substantially, then yeah, there would be an incentive to increase the supply of apples by planting more orchards. Now, as apple growers expand production, as they choose to plant more orchards to grow to increase their supply of apples, what will their actions do for the resources required for the production of apples, such as seedlings, pesticides, orchard labor? Since they want to plant more orchards, the demand for those resources for seedlings, pesticides, and orchard labor is going to go up. So the value of those resources now increases. Because the value of those resources increases, because the demand for those resources has gone up, the prices for those resources will be pushed up. Those higher prices send a signal to those who supply seedlings, to those who supply pesticides, to people who will supply orchard labor. And those higher prices attract more. So those who produce seedlings will increase their production of seedlings. For those who produce pesticides, will increase their production of pesticides. For those who potentially will help pick apples, orchard labor, that supply will increase as well, all because of the higher prices and the signal that it sends to those who are suppliers and potential suppliers. Over time, these adjustments will expand the future availability of apples. And apple production will continue to increase as long as consumers communicate through prices that they value additional apples more than they value the goods and services that have to be sacrificed to produce the apples.